I've had this video requested quite a bit, so I thought I'd make it finally. It's quite a simple video, it's not going to be too long, hopefully. It's just about RSMB. A lot of people ask me for what the best RSMB settings are, so I thought I'd give you at least the ones that I use, the ones that I've found work for me really. I'm going to show you two sort of versions, because there'll be a 30 FPS and a 60 FPS one. Because in my opinion, you don't really need RSMB for 60 FPS, but obviously a lot of people want to do it since they see LMGK use it. But 30 FPS is really where you want to use RSMB. For example, you see every Fortnite montage that's rendered at 30 FPS has RSMB, just because 30 FPS recordings don't really look the best, but they are better for montages, but that's why you use RSMB, so that it sort of evens it out a bit. But then with a 60 FPS one, you generally don't need RSMB, but a lot of people use it still, so I thought I'd give you the best settings that I can find for RSMB in this video. Before we actually get into it though, I just want to let you know that over 90% of the people who watch are not subscribed. I know I say that every video, but it's still the case for a lot of my videos, so if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, let's get back to it. Right, so if you don't already know, RSMB stands for Real Smart Motion Blur. It's basically just a way to smooth out your videos if they look a little bit choppy, or even if they don't look choppy, you can make it even smoother than it already is. There's other ways of doing it, like recording in higher FPS and then using like frame blending and stuff, but I find that RSMB is a little bit easier. It means that you don't have to record in higher FPS, you won't lag while you're playing. The only really downside of RSMB is that it can distort the clips a tiny bit, and it takes a lot longer to render just because of how heavy RSMB is on the computer. So it is a plugin, and it is paid. So obviously to get it, you do need to pay, you do need to get it. I'll leave a link to the actual website in the description, and it is a paid plugin, so don't ask me why you don't have it. I know I see a lot of people do that all the time, so don't ask me why you don't have it. It's a paid plugin. But anyway, you just want to search up RSMB in your effects, and you want to grab it. I don't actually know the difference. I don't think there's any difference between RSMB and RSMB Pro, so I just take normal RSMB and put it on the clip. And then, as you can already see that it's a little bit distorted just as soon as I put it on. So if I, for example, zoom in, right, let's go to this frame here. So on this frame here, you can see it's distorted. So if I zoom in a little bit and then scroll up, you can see where my name thing is really distorted. Now, you don't really notice it too much, but when you have a really heavy RSMB, it can distort even the map, which doesn't move. So what you want to do, because you don't put it on default settings, I think those are a little bit too high, especially since this one's the 60 FPS version. So let's go to effect controls, and then I like to do blur amount to 0.3 and the motion sensitivity to 60. Now you can see it's slightly less blurry. You can't really get around a little bit of blur. I turn on use GPU just because the GPU is a little bit quicker. And then I'm going to do a quick dynamic render just so you can see it. Okay, so that was the 60 FPS motion blur. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like if we were to do the same thing, but in 30 FPS. So I want to take off the RSMB. And then what you want to do, so if your sequence is in 60 and you're doing a Fortnite montage instead of a highlights video, you're going to want to do 30 FPS. So to change the sequence to 30 FPS, all you have to do is make sure you clicked on here, on this little box down here, and there's a blue outline. Then you just want to click on sequence up in the top left, then sequence settings, and then change the time base to 30 FPS, so 30 frames a second. Then press OK. So you just want to drag RSMB onto your clip now, since it's 30 FPS. Like that. And for RSMB now, I think it's actually better to have slightly lower values when you go to a lower FPS. So I'm going to put it to 50 instead of 60 motion sensitivity, and the blur amount will be 30 as usual. And then obviously we want to turn the GPU on again, and then I'll do a render for you. So as you can see, on a 30 FPS clip, it is a little bit more distorting. Like the RSMB does distort the clip slightly more than it would if it wasn't 30 FPS, if it was a higher FPS. But there isn't much you can do about that. If you lowered it too much, you wouldn't even see the motion blur. There wouldn't be a point of it. But yeah, that's why you need it on a 30 FPS clip though. Otherwise 30 FPS looks quite bad. But the motion blur, obviously, there's not much you can do about the distortion. You can't have a perfect motion blur without using the in-game motion blur, but who wants to do that? But yeah, these are the settings that I use for 30 FPS and 60 FPS motion blur. And that was about it. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. You can also follow my Twitch at twitch.tv/tmillyt. Link will be in the description and the pinned comment for my Twitch, Instagram and Twitter. I don't really do much on my Instagram and Twitter, so I want to grow them a bit, and then I'll probably start posting stuff there. But my Twitch, I do stream quite a bit, so if you want to drop over, just go drop a follow, and then I'll probably be streaming quite soon.